Hello fellow YouTubers, this is Bill McFadden with a tutorial on Metropolis Ark 3. And this will be divided into a few parts, and this will be part 1. And the first multi we're going to look at is the string orchestra, the first one in the setup. If we go to the library, we'll see it's broken up into multi-articulations, single articulations, and TM patches. So we're starting with the multi-articulations and the beating orchestra. The idea behind this library is it's designed for action, adventure, high drama. And the patches will reflect that accordingly. They're quite unique patches. They're mainly shorter patches, and if you want the longer ones, then you would get Arc 1 and Arc 2 from the Metropolis series. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first multi, string orchestra Atonal. So the first articulation we have here is the half note down. Then we have the staccato cluster. And then a upbeat single cluster. And then the upbeat triple cluster. And the ricochet cluster. And a half note down cluster. A staccato cluster. An upbeat single cluster. Whole tone. And then an upbeat triple cluster. Could be very useful for horror or suspense. And then we have ricochet cluster. And then the next patch we'll look at, the next multi is the string orchestra tempo atonal. Now all I'm doing is just holding down the one note, so it's giving me a rhythmic ostinato. And then here we have a repetition cluster. And here we have a repetition triple cluster. And a repetition eighth. And then a repetition eighth triple cluster. Repetition 16th. And repetition 16th. Triplet. Okay, the next patch we have, so you can see these are very unusual articulations, and really you won't find them in any other library yet, anyway. So here we have the string quintet articulations, multi, staccato, staccatissimo actually. Upbeat single. And here we have an upbeat triplet. Ricochet. Crescendo, short. Crescendo medium. Crescendo long. And here we have decrescendo, short. Decrescendo, long. In the next patch, or multi, we have string quintet clusters, articulations. So the first one we have is the half note down. And then we have the staccato cluster. Then the upbeat single cluster. Upbeat triple cluster. Ricochet cluster. Next patch. Actually, I'll do this. Is the repetition. Half. Then the repetition quarter. So repetition half. As you hold it down, every other beat. Repetition triplet, quarter triplet. Repetition eighth. Nice for ostinatos. Then we have a repetition, eighth note triplet. Repetition 16th. And a repetition 16th triplet. And the next multi is the string quintet cluster repetitions multi. So we start out with a repetition half cluster. And then we have a repetition quarter cluster. Repetition quarter triplet. Repetition eighth cluster. Repetition eighth triplet cluster. And then a repetition 16th cluster. And then a repetition 16th note triplet cluster. So very unusual articulations. Quite a lot of diversity and stuff that has not been done before in any sample library I'm aware of. Okay, so now we have the Woodwind orchestra cluster arrangement. And again, the half note down. Staccato or staccatissimo cluster. Here we have the upbeat single cluster. And the upbeat triple cluster. Here we have forte piano cluster. And a half note down cluster. Staccato cluster. So we have the higher winds, flutes you can hear, piccolo. And as we descend down, we get oboes, bassoons, clarinets, bass clarinets. Then we have upbeat single cluster. And the upbeat triple cluster. And then the forte piano cluster. So it's holding it. And next we have Woodwind orchestral clusters, starting with the repetition, half note, then we go to the quarter note cluster. I don't know, when I play these, I think a lot of Bernard Herrmann. And then we have quarter note, or actually quarter note triplets. And then we have eighth notes, repetition. And then eighth note triplets. Sixteenth notes, clusters. And then 16th note triplet clusters. And next we have maybe I missed it. Brass. Now we're into brass cluster articulations. So we're starting with the half note down again. Staccato, staccatissimo. Upbeat single. Upbeat triple cluster. And forte piano cluster. Half note down, cluster. Staccato cluster. Upbeat single cluster. And upbeat triple cluster. And forte piano cluster. And you can stack these. Next multi we'll look at is the brass orchestra cluster repetitions. So here's your half note. Quarter note. Quarter triplet. Eighth note. Eighth note triplet. And then your 16th note. So really interesting articulations that you won't find anywhere else yet. And the next one we have is some percussion timpani clusters. It turns out this particular multi, you have the key switches that switch the different articulations, but it turns out the articulations are not loading in this initial release. It just got released today. So I will email Orchestral Tools and find out what's going on with that. Now the next multi is timpani also, timpani articulations multi, which actually does work. So the first one we have here are the hits. And then we have upbeat single. Sort of a flam. And then we have upbeat triplets. And upbeat tremolo. Ricochet. Crescendo short. Crescendo mid. Crescendo long. And decrescendo mid. And decrescendo long. And last, in this first part, we have the piano multi. So this is staccato. So I mean, it doesn't matter how, or staccatism actually, doesn't matter how long you hold the note, it decays very quickly. And here's staccato, but staccato with clusters. So we have special effects. it goes all the way down from the bottom to the very top of the keyboard. And we have a staccato cluster. As well as cluster glissandos. And scratched strings. So we'll leave it here for part 1. This is Bill McFadden from Tone Pure Music. If you like this video or find it interesting, please click like. And if you want to see the next video in the sequence without missing them, then please subscribe. And this is Bill McFadden signing off from Tone Pure Music.